they came in their hundreds, the dolphin, the whale, driven to shallows with a sorrowful tale. The learned men muttered on nets and no noise, but the seas bear a tally that none can disguise. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the Firth mark the folly o' men. They'll talk all the weather, they'll talk all the storm. They'll scribble their numbers to keep with the norm. But the count only rises, the carcasses show a reckoning carry wherever tides go. From Rassay to Moray, the tidings run grim. The porpoise and mink now drift at the brim. Yet silence in council halls buries the cost, for silver and power would sooner them lost. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the Firth mark the folly o' men. And if ye should wander the shoreline at dawn, where once the great singers and dancers had gone, remember the silence, remember the sound, the strandings o' the Firth where the warning is found. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the Firth mark the folly o' men. So order a half and a half at the bar. From Fukushima's waters, the fallout sails far. Clap hands on the table, let everyone ken. The strandings o' the Firth mark the folly o' men.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the madness. We're in real trouble. We're in real trouble on this planet. I don't think the world is ready for the truth. I'm sorry, I don't think the nuclear industry is ready for the truth. Should we change the whales' names to aliens? Because in about 5 years or less, my guess is less, you're more likely to see an alien than you are a whale. And it's backed up by perpetual documentation. I know, I'm the bad guy. Shit on Dana every day now for a decade or more. But I bring all the evidence. I bring my side of the narrative to the table every time. Nobody else counters it. And they can't, unfortunately, sadly, horrifically. Experts who examined the dead humpback whale found in Cape Beach 2018. Another one. You gotta do a necropsy. They don't know why it died. Like all the other whales are dying of starvation. When you look at this whale, this is starvation. It's a starvation event. So 80,000 pounds, you say? It's not 80,000 pounds or anywhere close to it. Atlantic Marine Conservation Society You don't have to be an academic or scientist to appreciate that is just skin and bones. That doesn't have any resemblance to an actual whale. Let me see if I can make my head a bit bigger. Pop! So I scrubbed him out, right? Scrubbed that out. This is 2020. So when I scrubbed him out, the AI continued the lines that it was seeing. You can kind of see where I scrubbed him out, hopefully. But that's severe. That's severe emaciation. We broke the food chain for sure. San Francisco Gate, sighting of multiple dead whales reported across the Bay Area. They don't even look like a whale. That's the head. Somewhere. Supposed to be. There's the tail. That's the head. There's the whole thing. A beached whale on the north-southwest north coast. You can already see, right, the complete emaciation of the animal. Just let me bring up the video, actually. So there's two of them. Let me play both of them, actually. It's crazy. I don't know how the hell we're going to get through. We got so many dead whales. We can't keep up with it anymore. And every one of them are emaciated. This is going to be hard to watch. Believe it or not, that's actually a whale. A severe emaciation we're looking at. The spinal column is standing on its own. It's a huge whale, eh? I think it's a fin whale. But brutal peanut head. Brutal. There's a lot of the fin whales I'm finding. They're dependent upon... You can see this one breathing, and it's going to be difficult. But you can see the severe emaciation where its whole body collapses when it's breathing. It's a very futile thing to do, right? It's just severe, incontestable, unassailable emaciation. So when I popped the picture together today, I'll get better at it eventually. There's such a thing as getting better at something so horrific. This story is one of my favorite. A lot of favorite stories today. This one is one of my favorites. Blue whale, one of the biggest whale on the planet besides the fin whales I was just showing you. Look at the rib cages. This for something that weighs up to 380,000 pounds, the rib cages is the very last thing you should see. And a sharp, defined spine is the next furthest thing you can see. These are huge animals. This is tiny compared to what it should be. But again, when you see that rib cage, a whale washed ashore near Indian River Inlet. The whale was extremely emaciated. Extremely emaciated. 50-foot whale weighed, and it just doesn't weigh 100,000 pounds. You know, it's a 50-foot whale. It maybe weighs 40,000 pounds at best. Said it was premature to speculate on the cause of death. Well, starvation. It was extremely emaciated, so we're seeing just emaciated after all species, emaciated after emaciated. And it's such a hard thing to do every day for me. But the whales don't have a voice, so I don't know. If I don't do it, nobody else, unfortunately, is doing it. So they don't normally come near the shorelines. They come in because they're so weak they can no longer surface to breathe, and they head to the shore and die. As everybody that's been around here more than once knows, it gets a lot worse. It's not 100,000 pounds, by no means, by the way. And it's okay to speculate on it. All the whales, the food chain was broken in 2011. This is another fin whale. This is 57 feet. So it's almost one of the biggest out there. It's the second biggest whale on the planet. It's completely dependent upon krill, same as the blue whale, which is one of the most important keystone species on the planet. Right, they're converting the phytoplankton, the copepods, the zooplanktons into, chunks of meat, so-called, which feeds absurd amount of birds and whales and mammals and migratory species. They're completely dependent upon it, and they're traveling 10, 15,000 miles. They're so emaciated, they're just showing up in the weirdest places. You kind of don't have to be too experienced to appreciate that is severe emaciation. You're looking at the peanut head on its own. It's just a disfiguring of the whale is so blatant. It came ashore alive and it freed itself, allegedly. Has a thin body and an empty stomach. Didn't feed recently. In order to become this emaciated, it takes a year and a half, 2 years actually to get down to this bizarre. All the grey whales are emaciated. Last year headed north. When they headed south, there was no surviving calves to Baja, California. They're headed north again now. It's most likely they won't make it back to Baja, California next year. Or, no, this year. Sperm whale washes ashore, 2021, dies on Shell Island. Got a necropsy planned. Necropsy. That's the rib cage sticking up on this one. We seen one last night. The animal was severely emaciated. Hear that an awful lot. They're on a hunger strike, I guess. They're not going to eat till they find food. We get animals in poor body conditions that are sometimes just skinny. No, you don't. Pre-Fukushima, you didn't. It's really, like, the biggest shock is all the journalists and all the rescue networks refusing to acknowledge what's happening, that the food chain is broken. And I mean, they're out there all year long dealing with these emaciated animals, and they still won't acknowledge the food chain is broken. The first thing they do is they're looking for some kind of injury so they can blame it on a ship, as if all the ships are targeting whales post-Fukushima. They can't keep it up much longer because all the whales are going to be gone a few years. And you just can't blame all these deaths on ship strikes anymore. It's going to blow back in their face. That's what's going to happen. It's normal now. All the whales are emaciated, so it's normal. But it won't last forever. They're going to disappear. One of the most recent incidents occurred in Jensen Beach last month. It was also emaciated. They also said it was still alive when it showed up Sunday. And it died. Another 52-foot this time. Another fin whale washed ashore, San Diego. And this was 2023, December the 10th. You can see right away, right, there's No blubber, no muscle, and no fat. This is an emaciated fin whale. Now, they're the greyhounds of the sea, but when you see these unmistakable peanut heads, just the bone sticking out on their tail and their spine, they're so careful not to release. A lot of the pictures are in a position where it's very difficult for the average person to appreciate what they're looking at, right? It's on purpose. But if you know anything about whales, you'll quickly see the peanut heads and everything else. You'll quickly see the bone structure, the rib cages, the shoulder blades sticking out. These are not normal, right? The whales are normally very symmetrical, quite full of blubber, right? They're very robust. They don't belong on the coastlines at all. It's the death stage, the final stages of emaciation. You can see the body behind him as he's walking through, and it's undeniable. It's quite a coincidence. So let's say that they're not all emaciated. Let's just pretend that for a second, despite the fact that they're clearly all emaciated. Let's just say they're showing up dead on our beaches everywhere worldwide, symmetrically, in places they've never been before, on top of that. So let's play that out and see how that plays out. How do you can't blame every single, when there's around 1,200 whale ship interactions and strikes. That doesn't mean all the whales died since 2007. And that's a worldwide consensus. So why are all the ships, allegedly, according to the crazy medias, we know there's 7,000 whales starved to death. Humpback whales, just humpback, not all the other species, just humpback whales, just that one species. Starved to death. They blame it on this, and they blame it on that, but they starved to death. And they're all eating similar foods, these big animals, which is interesting. So how do you get some? We've heard this connotation, like in San Francisco Bay, where there was 16 whales or something. And 7 of them died of ship strikes, they said, and the other 9 were emaciated. They're all traveling at the same time, eating the same food, so they're all emaciated. And that's well known, right? But the media's versions is who most people are getting exposed to. It's pretty gruesome. Every day doing this, I tell you that much. I'm not enjoying this stuff. I'm upset and I want to do something about it, but the world would rather help to control opposition, right? Greenpeace gets millions of donations, and their job is to lead you away from anything to do with the facts. And it works. It's incredibly effective. What do you do against such a monolithic system that is completely on board for the cover story? I'm doing everything I can. I wish I could do more. I'm desperate to do more. I'm begging the world to come stand shoulder to shoulder and let's go to war. This is what it calls for. 7,000 humpback whales using AI. This is on top of an unusual mortality event for humpback whales, but there's an unusual mortality event for all the species, not just humpback. And so then this speculation is they starved to death. So I put that into the ether, that connotation, right, of starved to death. Not ship strikes. Not 7,000 ship strikes. They starved to death. So there's a precedence from what I'm talking about tonight, is what I'm trying to say to you. 10-meter long whale washed ashore in central Vietnam. I'm not sure what kind of a whale. In an exhausted condition. It's severe emaciation. Severe emaciation. And you can just brutal peanut head, for instance, and shoulder blades. But it's you can see it down by the tail, right? The vertebrae lined up. It's clear. There's in an exhausted condition, weighed 3 tons. It's 30 feet. It probably should weigh. It probably should weigh, 25 or 30 tons. It weighs 3 tons. It weighs 3 tons because it's brutal, catastrophic emaciation. A rare site whale stranding. There was over 300 of them stranded over in Chile, 2000, just before all the humpback whales were acknowledged as dying. And which at that time was those 300 plus sei whales. Let me see if I can find it maybe. I'm very stressed out about it this last week. I hope people will forgive me and understand why. Unlike I am. It's insane, eh? It's heartbreaking to see all the species disappear like this. Was that Chile? Was it Ecuador? I can't remember. One more try. I typed in all kinds of crap, did I? Let me go do this one more time. Excuse me. I should have that story in my bigger pile, right? But because we covered it so many times for years ago. I don't see it showing up. And because if you type whales into my system, it's quite the spectacle. I got a pretty sharp eye, so just bear with me for a few moments to see if I'm as smart as I think I am. I think I'm in shock with everything I'm seeing for the last number of days. I think that's what's going on. Because I got a really good eye. If I seize it, I can bring it. I just gotta. I'm gonna have to spend like 3 or 4 days. Do some maintenance on my hard drives because I got so much. Anyway, not looking good. Just give me one more second. It's just You can't put the word whale into my computer without getting entire dictionary. Let me drag it all the way down here. It's really, let's keep going. I wouldn't even know where to go to look for it anymore. We've been at this for so many years. It's an important story because it was that moment in history where things changed all of a sudden. Says anybody dispute? And so they're saying this whale had a rope on his jaw. And it does. I can see a rope there. Absolutely. But I think in that kind of condition, right, it wouldn't last too long with the rope because of the rope. Hopes high for stranded humpback whale after refloating. Again, severe emaciation. Hey, look at the tail, for instance. Madness. But look at the peanut head. You can see it pretty good there. That's severe emaciation. When you look at the tail, holy smokes, eh? You see the rib cage is bulging out. There's no fat, no blubber, right? They said they hope the humpback recovers fully. It's like anybody, any marine biologist, anybody else like that would have looked at this and seen the death throes of a large whale, right? This is severe emaciation. It has no hope of surviving. The spinal cord is sticking up. The vertebrae are clearly visible, the whole tail. The rib cage is protruding from the body because the skin, right, envelopes the rib cage because there's no blubber, no fat, no muscle, right, to the peanut head again. Once you see the peanut head and the shoulder blades. Tragedy, 60-foot fin whale dies on a Corniche beach after rescuers battle in vain to save it. How are you going to save a 60-foot whale? How are you going to push that? I played the video of that for you earlier. You can see the peanut head clearly, right? Now, you know, fin whales are the greyhounds, so-called greyhounds of the sea, but they're also very symmetrical. They're not, you know, when it breathes, you can see the whole back of it just sucked down because there's no blubber, no muscle, no fat, right? It's surreal. It's surreal. And you can see the tail. This picture gives it all away anyway. You can see, if you look at the spine up there, right? You see the spine sticking up, that's just simply not the way it's supposed to look. And look how the whole spine is nice and straight. Like there's a pipe inside their skin or something holding their skin. The skin is all is there is skin and bones. That's it, and internal organs, right? There's no mass. There's no muscles. There's no fat. I mean, look at the peanut head. It's just stranded 47-foot blue whale pushed back into the sea. You don't push a blue whale back in the sea. 47-foot long. This is 2016. Look at the rib cage just sticking out on a blue whale, of all things. Something that should weigh at least a couple of 100,000 pounds. It's not a full size, right? But they get up to almost 400,000 pounds. It's the biggest whale on the planet. That rib cage should never be visible, right? How about this fella? Dead whale washes up in Fistral Beach. The public are being urged to stay away. Look at the rib cage. Look at the bones. Look at the invertebrae on their spine. Look at the peanut head. Public, as usual, you kind of got to stay away. So even if they're not emaciated, say I'm completely wrong, which I'm not. But let's say they're not emaciated. Let's say they're all perfectly healthy, wonderful whales, bless their little hearts. Why are they post Fukushima nuclear fallout showing up on beaches worldwide? Of all species, not just these couple of species you're seeing tonight, we're talking about all the species. There are organisms still living on the now deceased whale, which is important to keep the distance from, and the blood can be toxic. So how do you do a necropsy on it if that's the case? And last night they released an AI picture of one of the UK media actually cooked up an AI picture and claimed it was the whale, that it had lots of blubber. Members of the public are asked to avoid the area at this time. They don't want clear pictures coming out. They're only going to feed you a couple of pictures, and you're not going to. The average person not going to be able to deduct much from that. Unfortunately, we're not average. Sadly, horrifically, terrifyingly. Challenging operation to remove a fin whale. Again, another one from the beach where it died. It died. It's an interesting picture. Till you get up close, what do you see? Peanut head, shoulder blades. Oh, these are key. 55-footer, and she's a big puppy. And weighing 30 tons. That don't weigh 30 tons. Skin and bones don't weigh 30 tons. That's a fact. It's hard to watch. See when it breeds in? Let me do that again. Let me just chop that out. Right here, right there, yeah. Right here. I chop that part out. This part here, see the whole. When it breeds, you can see the depression on its spine, for instance, right there. I'm going to zoom in. Don't turn away. Don't disrespect that poor whale and turn away. I'll put it up here. I'll bring it, zoom in a little bit. We'll get in the right position. We're going to play that in a loop. Right, so I want you to be looking right here, and you're going to see everything just depressed down. That's because there's only skin there, see? Let me get my big head out of the way, because that's half the whale. You can't see half the whale with my head in the way. Okay, I'm going to put this on a loop. There you go. Now watch, see, because there's no muscle, there's no fat, there's no blubber there. That's why you're seeing the whole surface under spine and that being sucked down, because it's just skin, right? And because they're under body, they create this void up there because there's no muscle and bones, so the skin is stretched. But when they try to breathe, I've never seen nothing like that. Play the whole video. Play the whole video. It's just amazing, eh? They're the second biggest whale on the planet. That's the end of that feller. This is a blue whale. We showed last night. He's supposed to weigh, say, close to 300,000 pounds. He's not a full size, which would be close to 400,000 pounds. You can fit this whole whale in about 4 pickup trucks, when you should need 6 transport trucks. So the radioactive fallout, this is the 20 days of Neptunium-239, which decays to plutonium after 25 days. So this is a map of the planet. Is anybody out there in a position where they're not sucking plutonium in, according to this TEPCO's documentation, which doesn't include the inventories that were actually lost? And of course, if you know plutonium killed all the species. Multiple tumors for everybody that breeds that plutonium, and the biggest deaths will be from bone tumors, apparently. All the animals die from the bone tumors, 93% of them, or 93 out of 144 dogs, for instance. Humans are 50 times less effective at removing the plutonium from the kidney, so you're 50 times more likely to die. All the dogs died. You're 50 times more likely, not 50%, but 50 times. This is the French government. This was based on a spike. This is not a projection. This is based on a spike of radioactive fallout in North America and other sensors. And this is 1 million to 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air. So what we're looking at is alphas and betas and gammas, and neutrons. Now, the biggest byproduct of the radioactive fuel rods is not americium or neptunium or plutonium or cesium-137, which happens to pulse energy 600 feet every second, each isotope. And you'd have snowstorms. You can't see it, though, but there's snowstorms. These are the equivalent of snowstorms. That's broken the food chain. It never stops snowing, and snow never goes away. The biggest byproduct of the radioactive fuel rod is curium. Curium, you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for plutonium. And plutonium, according to the U.S. government's Navy Research, Loveless Respiratory Research Institute, New Mexico, kills all the animals with multiple tumors, and that the humans are 50 times, your kidneys are 50 times less efficient than the animal kidney at removing the plutonium. So the plutonium killed all the animals every time, and you're 50 times less efficient at removing it out of your body. What's the odds that... and then whales, of course, are 50 times more efficient, but yet they're dying. Severe emaciation. Severe emaciation. Severe. So this has to end at some point because they're going to all be gone, right? We're seeing every species now symmetrically showing up severe emaciation. Every species is showing up severe emaciation. This blue whale, all of these whales were alive when they came ashore. Like this Bryde whale should weigh close to 90,000 pounds. That one up there is just a little over a week ago. This one is about 3 months ago. They all got one thing in common. They look like aliens. I mean, that's the biggest whale on the planet, the blue whale. Apologize for Karen. Should we change the whales' names to aliens because in 5 years you're more likely than not to see an alien? Well, not really. But you certainly won't be seeing whales. I mean, they're in people give me thumbs down and are in denial. This lucky feller right here, he was found in Morocco. This was alive. The only reason they're able to live, I mean, there's no muscle. There's nothing there. It's just bizarre that it could even move at this stage. There's no blubber, no fat, no muscle mass left. It's been doing this migratory run for millions of generations. They're diet almost entirely of krill. Up to some of the largest ones will eat 35,000 pounds a day. But at least 4 or 8 tons of krill each day. 8 tons is 16,000 pounds. These are big animals, right? And so they're traveling extreme distances. And I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. I think they should come take me and put me in a loony bin. Personally. Oh, it should fit right in. Eventually I'll be vindicated, but I belong in a loony bin as far as I can tell. Because you got to be mad to cure, apparently. You got to be an idiot to cure. Cause of juvenile humpback's death will remain a mystery. Santa Cruz. That was seriously emaciated. Oh, that's a mystery. It looked almost flat, almost deflated, yeah. We call it emaciation. That would help to tell if it died naturally or from disease or perhaps a ship strike. I got to get some dramatic music so I can use it every time they say that. So people will start being triggered by it. Look at this whale here. He looks pretty plump. He looks downright healthy to me. He could feed a couple of million Japanese. We should let the Japanese finish off all the emaciated whales. Oh, emaciated humpback whale. Huh. I never would have guessed that was emaciated. Emaciated. Right, I removed him from the picture. I just wanted to try to get a body kind of. He doesn't take up very much of the whale, right? Let me see this picture here. And so when I took him out of the equation, you can really see what AI says the lines are actually like. That's terrifying. Received word of a dead, emaciated humpback whale. An emaciated. It's the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, fearmongers. The animal was emaciated and there was no significant findings. That's not significant. How is it that these conservation societies can find severe emaciated whale after whale after whale and not work out that the food chain is broken? And look for ship strikes. Get out there, look for your ship strikes. Where's it to? Ship strike. Oh, it died naturally or from disease or ship strike. But it's severely emaciated, but we think it might have died of a ship strike. Yeah, he's emaciated, severely too, but he could have died of a ship strike, Dana. You fearmonger. It feels like I live in hell, eh? Because I just wallow in this excrement all day, every day. And I like it. I love it. I can do this all day, every day. But I think that's because I'm crazy. That would make a lot of sense, eh? Because you got to be crazy to do what I'm doing. I work on blind faith. like after my research expeditions, I'm not capable of I'm not functional anymore. I put that there 3 times so I can find my way back. I'm at 944. So when I come back into that session, I'm at 944. I'm headed back to that day in and out. Exercising in the sauna every day. Another 2 days, it'll be 2 months straight. And then red light therapy. Got a big storm coming tomorrow. That's what my typical day looks like. Not this. Very rare is the sun shining. I was at 6 years almost of these research expeditions. Towing the beast. With the beast, I got a beast on the roof of that thing too, right? The little Zodiac goes on the roof. Well, I'd just go up and meander through 27,000 islands for about 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year, and study the species that I was very familiar with. As a commercial diver, I was extremely familiar with them. What would you rather have, nuclear power or species? Can't have both. There used to be all kinds of amazing amount of species to your left, and when I've done the research expeditions, everything is gone. All the species to your left. And so I went back for all those years to see if the species recovered, to see if the species came back, to see if I could find an oasis. And, I lost my mind. You're out there 4 to 5, 6 months by yourself each year. The trolls, the nuclear industry are just wrecking you. Ain't no one there to defend you. And the minute you get ashore, you got to get back in this chair here and get busy and tell the story every day. No matter how shitty you feel, how miserable your day is, how worn out you are, how heartbroken, how destroyed, how much post-traumatic stress disorder you're going through. I made this video, there's a video like this too, right? Where the media, this is ABC Australia's Cecilia Vega, 12 years ago I made that video. I was like, I got them now. They're saying they're on top of that building. 12 years later, I'm the only person asking the question, are they actually on 150 feet above that stump to your left of Fukushima? That's reactor 4. That's reactor 4. I can't tell the difference. Can an emaciated whale tell the difference? Does an emaciated whale know he's emaciated? I'd like to ask Freud that question. So the species to the left went back year after year to see if they recovered. I know. The first year of the expeditions, which was like 6 months, pretty difficult, I actually, until I finally came back home, I actually believe I would find an oasis where everything was like that. I was actually somewhere in that 27,000 islands. If I just worked like a dog every day, 2 tides a day. There was no insects. There's supposed to be 30,000 insects at the high tide line. They're gone. And so for 6 years, and the industry hunted me constantly. They arrested me when I came back from one expedition, dragged me in court and gave me 6 gag orders for 3.5 years. The prosecutor said, the judge said to the prosecutor, what's the longest we can give him? The prosecutor said 3.5 years for the gag orders. And the judge was like, 3.5 years. And the local lawyers at the Victoria courthouse didn't know who the judge was. They said they brought him in to hang me. And that's exactly what they done. Like 1,600 medias come out and demonized me. All I done was went home brokenhearted and start rebuilding the operation so I could get back out on another research expedition. They arrested me 10 o'clock at night. No lights. There was just 2 police officers. When he knocked on my door, it was just like a little knock. Hi, Dana, can we talk to you? We got a warrant. We'll get you out again tomorrow. We waited till Tuesday night so you wouldn't spend a couple of days in jail. You'll be back out tomorrow, no problem, in about 12 hours. There was no one in the courtroom, only the prosecutor, stenographer. The judge was on a screen on a TV. And he had me inside this bulletproof glass booth, and they had me handcuffed and shackled on my ankles. I was in my pajamas. I was in a wheelchair. And I couldn't hear the judge. And I said, well, I can't hear you. You're a hard and feared criminal. And a few minutes later, he said, okay, you can have a good day, Mr. Durnford. Here's your gag orders. And they dragged me in outside the district. And it was lawyers referred to it, not that either one of them would take my case, but lawyers referred to it as a slap suit, meant to tie me up in litigation, right? To bankrupt me. The species to your left, when I was diving, I used to be so careful when I was touching down. It was so difficult to put your foot down anywhere without hurting animals. And so I had a lot of pains of conscience, right, that as a commercial diver, because I was 6 hours a day on the ocean floor. We had all the evidence that Fukushima was a major event, right? This was unassailable. We have unassailable. And because we have the luxury now of hindsight, the species, this was 10 miles from Alaska. It's a pretty humble operation. It took forever to perfect it. And to get up in this pristine, up 27,000 island, completely isolated. A lot of these beaches nobody's ever walked on before. Except Zoe took a dump on every beach, I think, or tried to, a little pee. And every starfish we found was horrifically disfigured, full of tumors. And starfish don't get tumors, do they? They don't get cancer. The only color on the beaches was Zoe. Out of the 700 algae, there was just 3. There was kelp cabbage, kelp weed, and kelp lettuce. And then when you see the starfish we do find, which was pretty rare, they were completely deformed. There's a 19-foot tide exchange. Like there's supposed to be. I showed you the species earlier, right, just a few minutes back, but should be there. And so these are very oxygen-rich places here. You're at the very last island in northern Canada. That's where I'm to right there. I get the shit kicked out of me every day. Trying to do, you shouldn't be able to put your Zodiac on the beach because they would punch holes in it. There'd be I used to pick 20,000 of them a day when I was working at harvesting, for instance. Like the 3 inches for the retarded Japanese. All the starfish you've seen up there are disfigured. Just let me zoom in on them and I'll center it for you here in a second. But you can see all of these starfish, they're the same species. That species comes in multiple vibrant colors, same as the other 78 species of starfish. They're completely full of tumors. And they were claiming that the tumors were jumping from one species to another species to another species. And seeing the green and sea anemones, they're the giant plume anemones, the green, what you're looking at there. They're not very big. We never seen any giant plumes, by the way. There's 84 species of these sea anemones in that whole area, a 27,000 island area, where we've done field studies and research expeditions. And, I'd come ashore to get every couple of weeks to get fuel and groceries in these little tiny communities. And the first thing I would ask them, is there an increase of cancer or Alzheimer's, dementia, and autism or diabetes? And as soon as you said the word cancer, of course, they would you wouldn't believe the cancers. And there was a lot of these very exotic cancers never heard of before were showing up. And because they would eat a lot of shellfish. And what's missing in these pictures is shells. And when you see these starfish, these are no longer the genetic starfish they should have been, right? That genetic is long gone. And these algae, there should be 700 algae. There should be 5,500 vertebrates without the backbones amongst that. There should be 30,000 insects at the high tide line. There should be an incredible diversity of species right there. So the food chain is broken. So the birds, when they're flying along the coastline, there's nothing to supplement on their migratory routes. Right? Normally when the seabirds, the common murres, by the way, will dive 600 feet all day. There was 1 million of them showed up severely emaciated and dead, at the same time as there was 1 million plus of Cassini occulus, and they're the microscopic eaters. And I left no stones unturned. This was a brutal you had the entire nuclear industry hunting you everywhere you go. And I don't know how many times I went to a community, I've been shot out there, and they spread all these lies about it. It's still going strong today. They brought in, they got Operation Long Jump. They called me up and mocked me on the show. And which is the epitome of arrogance, right? The videos, Operation Long Jump, you'll find it in my video section, not my live stream section. It'll be easier. You'll find that clip. The species to your left, see, I'm very familiar as a commercial diver with all those species. And Japan happened. I mean, they banned the food in 14 prefectures by 55 countries because it's not like a banana, it's not like a potato chip, it's not like walking in the sunshine, it's not like sleeping next to somebody, it's got nothing to do with any of that. You can't conflate them together. This is the industry's go-to punchlines that they've been using to misrepresent. What was the number I said? 944 or something? That's 1,000, 1,100. Oh, there could be hope for me after all. It's up a little higher. Oh, I know what I've done. That's right, we put that picture. That's right, I found it. What is this? Humpback whale washes up in Southampton. We broke the food chain. Brutal peanut head, brutal shoulder blades, brutal spinal column sticking straight up. Let me just see if I can. I mean, my goodness, eh? There's no muscle, no fat, there's no blubber whatsoever. It's unassailably severe, as usual, every species, severe emaciation. Should we change the whales' names to aliens because in 5 years you're more likely to see an alien than a whale? Listen, my research expeditions don't lie. That documentation does not lie. And we took an absurd amount of underwater footage, and we took an absurd amount. Dead fin whale washes up on beach. We took well over 250,000 pictures with GPS coordinates for each set, multiple GPS coordinates. Right, as you're covering the beaches, you're taking GPS coordinates, pictures, so that anybody can replicate the research expeditions, the field studies. Not that they're going to. Another fin whale, the second biggest whale on the planet. And you can see the disfigurement, you can see the peanut head. it's the weight is not there's not 160,000, 180,000 pounds. It's maybe 25 to 30,000 at best, and that's only because it's such a long, huge amount of bones and skin and organs, intestines and everything else. And the tongue weighs as much as an elephant, for instance, which is estimated to weigh 25 tons, but there's no way it weighs 50,000 pounds. I mean, because you can see in context of this guy, right? Now, if he goes over and stands, say it wasn't big waves there, he went and stood on the other side of the whale, you're going to see most of his body, because the only thing left is skin and bones. It's absurd that any animal can whittle away to that. And it's only because they're in the ocean and that buoyancy allows that to happen. But it's... excuse me. Hello, everybody. Don't weigh 25 tons, I know that much. They weigh 65 to 85 tons, or 80 tons, 160,000, 170,000 pounds. And when you put him in the context of the whale, a whale at best is 25,000 pounds. There is no, feeds mostly on krill. So the species that feed on krill, including birds and seals and sea lions, that we're seeing that symmetrical narrative of severe emaciation. Dead humpback whale in Provincetown. Again, when you look at this animal, what you're looking at, again, right? This is madness. This is insanity. You don't get a lot to work on, right? They give you a couple of pictures. So I painted them out to see if AI would give me an outline of the whale, and it did, of course. You give more context but the AI is just looking at the gaps. It's very good at what it does. And so when you remove them, you can see but you don't need to remove them to see that peanut head, the shoulder blade sticking out. That's all you need to see. Just any kind of indication of that whatsoever is emaciation, because we're so used to it, which is just the most heartbreaking statement imaginable. Emaciation. That's their word, not mine. Emaciation. You can see the tail. That tail is just the vertebrae of the tail, right? The line is very defined. Look at the shoulder blades. Look at the peanut head. When you see the shoulder blades, there is no muscle. There is no skin or no fat. There's no blubber. And like these whales typically are huge, very plump. Another fin whale washed up in San Diego Pacific Beach, 52-foot fin whale. We thought it was a tarp. We thought it was a tarp in the water. I guess you did, eh? So you can see the people, and then I painted them out of it so I can try to get some lines without the distraction. I'll put them back. I'm trying to do that with every time we get these pictures now, because I'm finding that I can concentrate on the whale a lot better by looking at it like this than I can with people there. But also it's important to have the people there because you can use context of the human behind them, the whales, to estimate the size of the whale and the weight of the whale. Right? You got a metric you can use, a very reliable metric. The second largest whale species in the world, the second largest 52-foot fin whale. The most common thing that kills the fin whales or finback whales are ship strikes. San Diego State University. What we've discovered, unfortunately, was a professor is the very last person you want to be trusting. Their job is to sell you out. They have to go through boot camp for 10 years before they get a full tenure, and they're not going to give up that paycheck, that ability to be God over the students, that'll do favors to graduate. That is the kickback for the professors to sell out humanity and the 8 million species. But in their own little way, they said emaciation. Once you say that word, they'll always try to put other stuff there to mitigate it, but emaciation. You don't need to tell me emaciation, but everybody else, the way they do it is just like the word emaciate. Like, I don't know how many people I talk to, they don't even know what the fucking word is. Excuse the language. Which is okay, there's no shame in that, but a 52 fin whale, we thought it was a tarp out on the water. Turns out it wasn't. Ship strikes. Well, that's not a ship strike. Why would you even invoke it if it's not a ship strike? Because you're a professor, and that's the narrative. Everybody has to put that out there. They have to say it's climate change, and it could be a ship strike or climate change. If not, got to be climate change. Experts to experts. Every time I hear that, it's just like hang me head in shame that these people are being called experts, which is just, it should be a crime. If it was a crime, they'd all be in jail, wouldn't they? To examine a dead humpback whale on Cape Henlopen Beach for the cause of death. A dead humpback whale washed ashore. His name was Charlie, I think. His friends call him Charlie. He was Charlie the whale. It wasn't like all the other whales. I got a light there on the wing. Just hang on. I busted up broken ass over here. Fix that. You gotta come on. Stop doing it. I'll kick your ass. You don't know what you're messing with. Lights have messed with me before. I kicked their asses. Okay, the reality of it, they kicked my ass. I kicked nobody's ass. I'm too old, I'm too busted up to do anything. I'm barely functional anymore. Hang on, I gotta turn that off. That's torture. I gotta replace that someday, but that's the end of that light. I can't do that no more. There we go. My apologies. I think it's a whale. I think I painted all of that stuff off. There it is. I got rid of him for a second. Got rid of a little bit of that yellow strap to try to get more context. So you can see how tall he is. How long do you think it'll take him to scramble over that skin and bones? Not very long, right? 26 killer whales showed up dead. There was only 6 medias reported on it, 7 counting me. And we went through it with a fine toothbrush. So they found this one, And 2 weeks later, there was two of these, right? You can see the shoulder blades. You could actually see the peanut head. And then there's 26. Look at the way they're spread out. It took them 2 weeks to find these whales. Look how high and dry they are. It's a very confusing story. This is in Argentina. This is one of the pictures they released. Now, I zoomed in on it. You're looking at the blubber. There is no blubber. That's skin. They're peeling the skin back. There is no blubber. And we have significantly emaciated killer whales. Like Belgium, for instance, was mind-blowing how emaciated that killer whale was. It was... It's heartbreaking. It's actually madness. I think I got it right there. Unlucky me. Well, there was a couple. There was one in New Zealand and there was one in Belgium that showed up. That's the Belgium. Look at the rib cages. You can see the peanut head, the shoulder blade sticking up. It's like a deflated toy, right? Except there's a whale. How about this shoulder blade? Think about all of these whales here. And then the picture they give us, there was only a couple of pictures, not 26 pictures for 26 whales. But when you zoom in on this picture, it's not blubber, that's skin that they're peeling back. There is no blubber, there is no muscle there either. It's just that skin. And the whale in New Zealand, it took, there were like 6 or 7 stories that came out. Eventually, though, they admitted that the whale, I can't remember. Let me see if I got it here. I'll bring it up. I might have it, their version of it. Unusual. Dead orca found on Christchurch Beach to be buried in the sand dunes. Unusual. From her condition, she may have been struggling to feed for a while. And here's the picture. And here's another picture. You can see the rib cage. Again, they're very cautious how they give you pictures. You can see the peanut head clearly, though. Right, the way the face is too. And the fin, and particularly the tail, are dead giveaways. And you can see the rib cage right there. And you can see the size. This was a full adult, but, sorry, let me get out of the way. Look at the people right alongside the whale. So we're talking about severe emaciation when you compare it in the context, because, an orca is an actual pretty big, pretty robust, pretty thick. It's a apex predator. It's all muscle. I mean, it has blubber. It has fat, obviously. Not anymore. And see the rib cage. But look at the context of the people right close to it. This is an adult, a full-size adult, but it doesn't look like it because it's severe emaciated. You know that. You can see that rib cage. You can see how thin the tail actually is. But this is the Belgium, back to that Belgium killer whale. That is frightening. In British Columbia, they're all emaciated, too. But they were spread out. They discovered it was 26 of them. It was the biggest die-off killer whales in human history. And it only had 6 bizarre medias that reported on it. Excuse me. So this Bryde's whale was a little over a week ago. Now this one, Bryde's whale, was a little over 3 or 4 months ago. In India, there was just this grainy picture. It was uploaded twice. When it got to Canada, it was very grainy. We're assuming the government, the nuclear industry, is controlling these types of pictures before they make it into our ether, so to speak. I would love to see that kind of quality with that whale. And that was 2 pictures. I'm sorry. There was 2 pictures. These pictures were both identical. Let's just do a little recap here. I put together a little recap of just what we covered in the last couple of days. Is severe emaciation. It's just severe stuff. All of them, every one of the whales we're finding, we're getting evidence of. We're getting, when the media reports on it, we can get, we can find it, for instance. All of these are displaying unassailable documentation. Look at this humpback whale. This is absurd. That's the spinal column sticking up over there. Looks like an appendage hanging off the whale up there. That's just, it's upside down, right? That's the spinal column. It's deformed, right? Look at it. I'm sorry. It's just wow. The rib cages are protruding from the body. And it's just skin. It's just it's a very thin skin. Even the skin is emaciated. It's not only lost all the muscle, the fat, the blubber, but the skin is also razor thin, so to speak. Right? It's like a blanket over. It's like a wet blanket on a skeleton. That's what the skin is doing. It's an incredible attribute that we've never heard tell of pre-Fukushima nuclear meltdowns, radioactive fallout, the food chain breaking. Here's some other good angles. This is madness. I mean, this is madness, what you're looking at there. This is just absolute madness. That a whale can denigrate to this right, this is a result of severe emaciation, is what you're looking at. Look at this blue whale. This is just bizarre. It was emaciated. I never would have noticed. Severe emaciations. Instead of a mighty 380,000 pounds, you're lucky if it weighs 30. This is another blue whale from just nothing but bones and skin, and the skin is razor thin. I don't know if razor thin is the right word to use. It's almost transparent, I would imagine. And it is a blue whale. This is astonishing. These were alive when they came ashore. Because there's no blubber, no fat, there's no muscles. There's nothing to buoyancy it. And so if it dies at sea, it sinks. And it doesn't wash up in this kind of condition, right? These were alive, emaciated. There's an adult blue. You see the rib cage, you can see the spinal column. 42-foot blue whale washed ashore, died on the Mumbai beach. The natives, the communities up there were going to eat them, but there was nothing left of them. It was just bones. Just surreal. Right, and you can get kind of context of his size with these pictures here. This one was in the death throes with the medics. I'm just doing a recap of the last couple of days here. I got so much to get through. I doubt highly we're going to get through it this week. And they're all looking like this. When you get a clean picture, you don't always get a clean picture, but you get enough that you can tell the story. Thank goodness. I mean, look at this. Remember, we covered that last night. Some of the scientists were concerned, thought it was a mass, a tumor on the side of the sperm whale. This is sperm whale, yeah. This is emaciation. That's the skin laying down on the rib cage. Maybe it's better off without that light, eh? Not really. I gotta turn some. I got a little light right here. I have these 6 small lights that are color coded. I'll bring one up and show it to you. These little small lights. These are Bluetooth controlled, and these are color coded for your skin, right? For humans. And you can fine tune it with the app, the colors. They're wonderful little lights, but they're very expensive. They were $150 each. But they're special for photography and videos. They're really important for any kind of field studies. I always got a couple of them. You know, and when I first went out and done the research expeditions, I took can't remember. There was an absurd amount of plastic Ziploc baggies. I went and bought the best Ziploc baggies I could find. I bought a lot of them. I was going to get all these samples. We're going to test them for radiation, right? We went out there. We couldn't find anything. And so then the hunt became looking for an oasis that first year. At the same time, I was vilified for going out and looking. Why are you looking? And I had a whole bunch of universities. I used to get in my comment section and complain that I wouldn't take their studies, I wouldn't interview their scientists, I wouldn't take their money, I wouldn't take their equipment. And I said, well, how can I be dependent and then if I get, if I let you sponsor me to do the research and the field studies, and then all of a sudden you pull the rug out from underneath me, I don't have any support, and I don't want to put any studies on a paywall. But if I've covered their scientists, I looked at their studies, and they weren't trustworthy. And they used to get in the comment section and say, Dana's very suspicious. Why won't he take our money? Why won't he take our equipment? Why won't he? And there was even people who were demanding that I take their academics out on the research expeditions with me. Can you imagine the hubris of that one? And you'll find all the information out there, like they attack me constantly. There's nothing they haven't tried to do to destroy me. There's nothing they won't do. If you go look at Operation Long Jump, they were reveling in the fact that they had Stinkfoot as one of their experts that were going to help them destroy me because he's from Britain and we're in Canada, so there's a lot of similarity. He would know how to get after me, right? They did. But yet, here I am every night that I can get here, busted up, doing the best I can. That's all I'm ever doing. I never claimed to be a genius. I never claimed to be special or anything. I just tell the story. Do the field studies myself and see if it pans out, right? Provide the documentation on Light Dim of everywhere I'm to and the GPSs. Likely died from a blunt force trauma caused by a vessel strike. So this was the one that was found on top or on the bulb of a container ship or something. Remember that story? So they were doing a necropsy on it. I see a peanut head first off. I don't see a healthy animal at all. I can see a completely underweight animal. Like the Bryde's whales. Like, how the hell do they live that to get that disemaciated? Or disemaciated, like, died from a parasite infection. The parasites can take hold because their immune system is compromised, right? They don't have any muscles. They don't have any body fat. They're not healthy. They don't have any blubber. They're not eating. They haven't eaten for a year and a half or 2 years before they finally show up alive on the beaches in these inconceivable, severely emaciated. And we see that connotation so often where they talk about parasites, but that's the result of a compromised immune system. And giant whale carcass spotted on the Devi River mouth. This is clearly not a healthy whale, but it's terrible pictures. Well, this one was hilarious. Right, I scrubbed out the people that were deer so we can It turns out this was an AI picture. The original picture was an AI picture. We covered it last night, right? It's fascinating. This was another whale that came up on the beach, and you can see the peanut head. This is another fin whale, large fin whale, peanut head. You can clearly see the indentation, which is the shoulder blade sticking out too, right? Which is just poor nutritional condition. You mean severe emaciation. This is an animal, and you can see somebody kind of stood up here. That'll give you some context of the size. This is a sperm whale. Remember the sperm whale we covered last night? Where the picture had this great big bizarre looking eye. It was they painted it onto the side of or it was just an AI picture or something, but it was postured as the whale that was reported upon as dying, right? When you're looking at the body is severely disfigured because of emaciation. This is emaciation. This is catastrophic. Again, emaciation. Live whale washes up. It was reportedly in the death throes. This is a blatant emaciation as you can get. Had not eaten for some time. Had not eaten for like a year and a half, 2 years. This is the blue whale. In order to become that severe emaciated, I had no idea that whales can live this long. It's because they're in the ocean, I guess, right? They're buoyant. That could survive that long with no food. It's got to be a record. We know the grey whales are all emaciated to surviving. There's 14,000 died since Fukushima of starvation. And the ones that got hit by a ship in San Francisco Bay, they don't even belong in San Francisco Bay, first off. And this desperation, they smell the sewage or something, you say? They're not feasting, because just in that 1 year period, we covered that story last night, I believe, or the other night, out of the 16 whales, 9 of them died of starvation. The other 7 were ship strikes. In other words, they were so emaciated they couldn't get out of the way, or the ship hit the dead whale and they counted it as a ship strike. They're desperate to blame everything on the ship strike. Emaciated. You never tell it was emaciated. I scrubbed the people out so I can get the lines. Remember that. I never done that here, though. I did in that picture. Severe emaciation. Severe emaciation. This is 2024. 7,000 humpback whales may have starved to death during the blob heat wave. They're trying to reinforce that narrative, the blob heat wave, the blob heat wave. The worst marine heat wave on record killed 1 million seabirds in the North Pacific Ocean. This was common MERS and kittiwakes, which are likely from starvation. So, there's a conjecture that the heat wave, that there is a heat wave that is described as the blob, that there was all these stories came out at one time based upon this one narrative. This was the cover story orchestrated by the International Atomic Energy Agency, UN. These birds also were found in, there were 7,000 found at a pond. So they didn't die of a heat wave at that freshwater pond where they don't belong in the winter. They died of starvation. All of them died of starvation, not of the blob. The heat wave is real. It's radiation. The whole ocean was... you wiped out the bases of the food chain, the bases of the oxygen chain, the bases of the carbon sequestering chain. Right? Once you wipe that out, it takes a few years, and then it slowly manifests into severe emaciation of all the species. So the common guildermots, known as common murres, they dive 600 feet all day long, and they feed on anchovies and squid and sardines and krill and all kinds of species like that. So let me turn up one of the lights there because I have that luxury. I just got one more there. I'm going to turn that light up here. Just bear with me. To make up for the other light that's turned off. Some fancy work here. Okay. Who cares? Better all the whales die. So the nuclear industry doesn't look bad, right? As long as the nuclear industry doesn't look bad, that's all that's important. So at the same time as the common murres, which dive 600 feet all day and feed on anchovies and squid and sardines and krill, like the blue whales and the fin whales feed on the krill. There was over 1 million Cassinioclets that showed up emaciated too, and they feed on the microscopic animals. They had none in their stomach, nor did... the common murre and the so-called blob, they said, the heat wave, was surface temperatures. Well, the murres dive 600 feet all day. They're not in... If there was a fictional... Like, the ocean doesn't work that way. Suggesting top of the ocean was hot. The ocean can't work that way. Science doesn't work that way. Right? And the people that are making the story up are not experts in that field. That's why they come up with these bizarre lies. So you had over 1 million common murres that dive 600 feet all day and feed on anchovies and squids, sardines and krills. And you had over 1 million Cassinioclets that feed on microscopic animals. The zooplankton, the phytoplankton, the copepods. So you had two different spectrums of the food chain. Now, I showed you the picture of the coastlines. The migratory animals that we're talking about weren't able to go into the tidal zones to supplement their diets, which could have included, some of those 30,000 insect species at the high tide line in that area. They were missing too. Known as the blob, the heat wave caused sea surface temperatures to rise by 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. See, that doesn't even add up. Like, I was a commercial diver. I'm very tuned in to sea temperatures because it's built in to our plotters and our echo sounders and our... The fish that common guillemots, which is common murres, normally eat, such as herring, sardines, and anchovies and krill, either died or moved into cooler water elsewhere. Either died? The food source that they've been using for 1 million generations either died, okay, or moved, really, into cooler water elsewhere. Well, the guildermots dive 600 feet. You're talking about sea surface temperatures, but they dive 600 feet. There's no reason for the species at 600 feet to move. So all the colonies failed. They failed because they couldn't find food to bring back to the fledglings. Where there's millions of generations that are pre-programmed to go feed and raise their fledglings in these areas. Walrus dies from the bird flu on an Arctic island. Really. It died, and it's very big. It can weigh 2 tons each, mainly fish and shellfish. Well, shellfish bioaccumulate radiation 125,000 times more than a fish does. And so they have leukemia, they have cancers. And so their immune system is compromised. And there could be a flu that will tip them over the edge, but they're going to die anyway. But that's the last thing you want to be eating is shellfish. If you crave seafood, eat fish or something, but don't eat shellfish, for goodness sakes. It's cancer in a bowl. Leukemia on a dinner plate. That's what you end up with for eating that stuff, because they're filter feeders. They're the worst thing you can eat when it comes to... Because a lot of the radiation is washing back down to your coastlines, into your tidal zones where the shellfish are too, right? And they're filtering that highly toxic radioactive water that has never stopped coming out. There's 1,000 fuel pools worldwide hemorrhaging radiation from all the reactor cores ever produced or put after a short period of time, are put in pools at the top of the buildings where they're boiling off enormous amounts of water in 24 hours. And each one, there's 1,000 fuel pools splitting atoms into your environment. What I'm talking about is real. So the H5N1, like we've heard they used to try to blame the mass die-offs on domoic acid. And we're gonna get the test back and we'll find out. How long does it take? 2-3 years. Well, that's perfect for an industry that needs a cover story, isn't it? Got 2 or 3 years now to come up with a cover story. But the results always came back, it wasn't domoic acid. Even though it's real, and that's what they're counting on, the fact that it's real. But ultimately, because we followed through on all of those studies, that we can, not all of them, I'm sure, but quite a lot of them, it never ever came back to domoic acid. But that was their go-to cover story for the die-offs. Not the blob. Spores suspends poultry imports from 4 Japanese prefectures following bird flu outbreak. Well, their immune systems are compromised, so the flu can definitely proliferate throughout the species and compromise the species. Right? That's just the reality of this. Let me see. Mystery of 26 killer whales wash up dead on the beaches. And that showed up again. No, that was... they had changed something in the story. And scientists don't know why. Really. Sure it wasn't a blob. We're sure it wasn't climate change. But there was a couple of these pictures, like this one here, I think it is. Or no. Why did he show us these pictures for? How are these pictures a benefit to the equation? A team of marine biologists are investigating the mysterious... How come only 6 medias covered the biggest mass die-off of killer whales in human history? And none of these medias were popular medias. How does that logic fit into this equation? They had found no signs of injuries or trauma. They love doing that, don't they? Whales can't die unless they're hit by ships, apparently, according to the media lately. The total number of stranded individuals stands at 26. They had found 2 weeks before. Apparently these were the same. This was just part of the same group. And they don't belong there. This is in Argentina. There was no signs of injuries from boats or nets or human activity. The specialists believed the largest groups had stranded at the same time as the 2 found earlier. which is these two. And you can see the shoulder blades. You can see they're not healthy. You can see the peanut head there. But I mean, the autopsy, I showed you pictures earlier like this. There's no blubber, there's no fat, there's no muscle. That's the skin, and the skin is not very healthy. That's the skin peeled back, right, and peeled up. It's been there for 2 weeks, so the skin is pretty dry. But that doesn't mean, and there was no predators. They were there for 2 weeks, and these animals weren't scavenged. Which is incredible, right? How come they didn't show us 26 pictures? If they went there, they took 26 pictures of each of the whales. Why not share that? Are we not worthy of seeing the documentation? Why do we get these bizarre, grainy pictures? The original pictures came out were nice and clean. When they found the rest of them, how come they couldn't give us those pictures again? Why did it have to be cameras from 1999? Even when you zoom in, it's totally useless pictures. But when you peel it back, I thought originally, right? When I looked at that originally, I was thinking that was blubber, and I was like, and now I zoomed in like I'm now. I'm like, no, that's not blubber. Holy shit, that's skin. There is no blubber. There is no fat. There is no muscles. The most dishonest people in human history are scientists. The least trustworthy people are working to establish what caused the mass stranding, and we still have nothing? We have some stupid-looking idiots in paper suits. These are morons. And it's probably AI. It's hard to trust any facet of this industry. You have to be insane to trust this industry. It's crazy. Who are these creatures? Who are these people? Who are these traitors? Who are these weirdos that insist on lying about every facet of the stories? What are their intentions? Why are they so fucking dark? Why are they so evil? Why do they have so much contempt for us? Why do they hate us? Why do they disrespect us? Why do they misrepresent every facet of these stories? Because they're natural scumbags, I guess. All of these whales, I'll get out of the way, are incontestable evidence of what I'm telling you tonight. That blue whale up in the top left-hand corner, that should weigh 300,000 to 380,000 pounds. It maybe weighs 25 or 30,000 pounds, but that's because it's 100 foot of bones and skin. This is madness, right? This is madness. That's the only way to describe this. This is madness. I got another snowstorm coming in tomorrow morning. Bone-chilling temperatures, my goodness. Heavy snow. Hopefully we can get out and do some field studies in the snow, look for some fresh tracks. The chance of seeing a bird, we're in the middle of the Atlantic. And the biggest migratory run on the entire planet. And we have 46 million migratory birds, seabirds, the biggest migratory seabird run on the entire planet, has been missing now for 5 years. And the industry, the people out there still pretending everything's good. They just don't bother mentioning the fact that the birds have disappeared, right? So they didn't go somewhere else. They died. They died of starvation like all the whales we've seen tonight. And anyway, it's a good show. Now we got through a whole bunch of important stories. And I'm very, 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 very pleased with myself. We pulled that off tonight. We got so many dead whales still to get through. Looks like it's going to be that kind of a week, eh? Dead and emaciated. That's the... Dead and severely emaciated. That's... It's madness. Let me get rid of all of this so tomorrow night I don't redo all of this stuff. It's crazy, eh? It blows. I'm definitely traumatized by this over the last few days. So I apologize to everybody. I'll get it together eventually here. But it feels like I'm losing my mind because of all of these emaciated whales. It's my worst nightmare. It's my worst nightmare come true. It's everybody's worst nightmare, but it's definitely my worst nightmare. Because we knew this was going to happen. We were watching this play out. It's getting worse and worse, more and more emaciated whales. And now almost everything we're finding is severe emaciation. That's pretty crazy. We'll pick up again tomorrow night, I guess, and the madness never stops. The heartache and heartbreak never stops. Well, let me keep those two videos. We'll play them again tomorrow night, just for some context. My goodness, we covered quite a bit tonight. That's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to get a night's sleep here. A lot of snow to deal with tomorrow. That's okay. Remember the blob? Well, this song is The Scientists and Their Blob. I'm going to put a link in the description so you can go hear it later yourself. Hopefully. Yep, there you go. We're going to play the song, but I'm going to put the link there in the description for you. That way you can find it yourself, right, and watch it. Download it, put it on your kids' phones, your friends. Give it to your friends, send it to your... send it out around. Let everybody go enjoy it. It's a cool song. It's one of my favorite, actually. See you in the next one. Have a great night. Hugs for everybody. See everybody tomorrow night. Say no to nuclear. The whales will love you for it if they survive another couple of years.
The birds washed up, feathers torn.